Aging a deer is something that has become very popular in the last few years, and it's a big challenge. I think a lot of people probably don't see enough deer in all the different age classes to even really understand what they're looking at. So they've got to be taught online, going to YouTube, looking at forums, looking at different articles, and all of that's pretty valuable. That's what we're shooting this video about as well. For me, when it comes to aging a deer, one of the first things that I try to look at is basically to try to keep it simple. I've divided it up into 3 categories nowadays because it's really difficult out in the field to know exactly the age. Now, I used to think I could do that, but as I've gotten older, I realize I'm not near as smart as I used to think I am. So I use kind of 3 different gaps there. 1 to 3, I call that an immature deer. 3 to 5, 5.5, I call that a middle-aged buck. Over 5.5, that's an over-the-hill, fully mature deer. Now, for me, when I look at an immature buck, that 1 to 3-year-old class of deer, they're very thin looking. Their faces are long, their legs are long. Everything about them it just looks young. The way they move, the way they interact with everything. And especially when you can get other deer around them, you can begin to get a breakdown of their sizes. When you get to that next category of the 3.5s to 5.5, that's where it can be a little more challenging. And that's where the seasonal changes in body condition can really play a role. First off, let's look at that seasonal change. As they come out of the summer, they're starting to shed their velvet, they're beefing up for the rut, they all look big and bulky. Think about a big middle linebacker on a football team. They're stout looking. Everything about them is solid. And then as the season goes on, they begin, because they're a lot of times the most active age class in the rut, they begin to lose weight. Well, this is where people can have a hard time identifying certain deer. And one thing I always encourage is using trail camera surveys, having your trail cameras out, learning the different looks of that deer, learning his antler characteristics will really help pay off to help identify that deer so that when he loses 20 or 30 or 40 pounds during the rut, you're going to know which deer that is. Now, as you get to that over-the-hill class that I like to break it down, 5.5 and older, that's a fully mature deer. You're gonna see a little more sagging around there. You're gonna see little wrinkles down around their jawline, around their ears and things like that. Their hips are gonna be very full, very thick. Their legs are gonna look short. A lot of times you'll hear people talking about, you'll see that sag in their back. That's definitely prevalent in some. But you also will see some of those really old deer actually begin to lose weight as they get older, and it can make them a little harder to age. So aging a deer, it's a great thing to learn how to do. It adds another little twist and more fun to your hunting, but it's not an end-all be-all, and you're probably gonna make a few mistakes, and that's okay. At least you were out deer hunting.